The chair recognizes the congressman from Wisconsin, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pretrial release decisions. New York State law requires an annual report of pretrial release decisions made by New York City courts. The latest data released in September of 2022 shows that statistics of pretrial release granted to individuals across all categories of offense between 2019 and 2021. Here's a few takeaways from that. Since New York City repealed cash bail for certain nonviolent felonies in 2019, the instances of imposing bail have decreased across all categories of offense, including violent felonies. Release was granted in more than 75% of nonviolent felony cases in 2021, and of those released, 40% went on to commit another crime within 180 days, with 10% of those being violent felonies. In those cases where bail was actually set, which in 2021 was about 12,000 cases, more than 3,700 of those had bail set at $1. I wanted to highlight those statistics for a couple of reasons. The first is to show that weak bail policies in New York City do, in fact, have an effect on violent crime. Thousands of violent felony offenders are being released under their own reconnaissance, or in some cases, like I said, for $1. And then within 6 months, are back in front of the same judge. And then the second is to say that the pretrial release statistics play an important role in helping the public, and Congress actually, understand whether a state's bail policies are contributing to a spike in violent crime. So I'd ask this, and I'd ask Congress, that we should take up a bill that we've worked on in past Congresses, and the Pretrial Release Reporting Act, so we can see how other state bail policies are contributing to really an epidemic that's nationwide right now. So, Ms. Harrison, I was going to ask you, can you just comment kind of in general on pretrial release statistics and the issues related to that, not just in New York, but nationwide?
I mean, as you mentioned, we see it across the board all over the news that people are killed or victimized by people that are released under pretrial, least restrictive conditions, bail reform, cashless bail, whatever you want to call it. We have over 305 people that are dead in New York because of bail reform. Christina Lee was murdered here in New York by somebody that was on supervised release, which really is non-existent. So across the board, across the country, it's awful, and it's victimizing people.
Thank you. Mr. DiGiacomo, I just wanted to get your opinion on how these type of pretrial decisions erodes the relationship between law enforcement and the district attorney's office.
Well, I've always remembered the police and the district attorney's office work together to help the victims of crime. I don't see that happening in Manhattan, and it's caused more people to die.
It's got to be disheartening for officers on the street to go out, do their job on a daily basis, make the arrests, do the right thing, put their lives at stake, and then find out on the back end that the DA didn't follow through on either prosecuting or, at the end of the day, kind of a slap in the face when you find out that they were released on a $1 decision?
Well, absolutely. And like I said earlier, every time you engage the criminal element, you're putting your life in harm's way.
Very good. Thank you.
I think. Yep.
I yield to the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you. When I think of victims of crime, being a sheriff, having to deal with it pretty much all my life, and I think about an individual having to protect himself, and when you have some type of a knucklehead, we got one over here on this poster board, Mr. Alba, you have to deal with this. This guy's in your face. You felt scared, didn't you? Did you feel this guy was going to possibly kill you, maybe cause serious bodily injury, if not death? Then you have a right. You have a right as an American citizen to use deadly force, sir, and eliminate that threat. You have a right to do that. Everybody in this room would agree with that, wouldn't you? I mean, when is it okay in America?
Will the gentleman yield for 1 minute? For a second, sir? Will you yield over here?
When can we look at, if somebody puts a knife to you or a clerk at a cashier anywhere in this country, and he's threatening to say, I'm going to kill you, you don't give your money? I would encourage the residents in the great state of Texas and my county to defend yourself. Defend yourself. You are given that God-given right. And that means pulling out a weapon and put 2 at center mass. You'll reduce recidivism, won't you? And you won't have a repeat offender.
Gentlemen, time has expired. The gentlelady from Indiana, Ms. Sparks.